Good day. This is the third video tutorial on the Designer program. Today, we'll take a closer look at basic cubes. Enter the palette. Select a variable cube. Variable cube is the main. It receives, stores, and passes information. The variable has two input sockets. One receives data. Another is a cube trigger to pass value to output, and one output socket, on which the result is generated. In the cube settings, you can configure data type and value. In this case, the values depend on the data type. You can also rename the cube. Let's take a few examples with the variable cube. Select a variable cube. In the cube settings, select data type. For example, instrument. In the value, select instrument. Now the cube receives, stores, and passes data about the instrument. Let's select another cube. Assign data type in the settings, numeric value. And set the value to 23. Now the cube will receive, in case of transfer to an input socket, store and pass a numeric value. Take the next cube. In the settings, we will assign it the data type, portfolio. And in the value, we specify the portfolio name, which will be traded. It should be noted that a cube can be not only a constant, but it can also store and pass data received from other cubes. Take the variable cube, candle cube, converter cube, connect the candle and the converter cubes, and in the converter cube settings, select closing price. Connect converter and variable cubes. Now the variable cube receives the value of the candle closing price from the candle cube through the converter cube, which changes with each new candle. Next cube. Logic blocks cube. Responsible for comparing Boolean values. It has two sockets at the input, to which Boolean values are received. True or false. Outputs the check result. The logical validation operator is set in the settings. And also, you can change the cube name. Consider an example of building a schema with a cube. Let's select a cube. Suppose that we need to compare the result of two checks. Select two comparison cubes and assign the first cube the comparison more condition. And to the second, less. Connect sockets with the comparison result with the input sockets of the logic blocks cube. Assign a check condition in the cube settings, and if to the cube, input sockets will be received, either two values of true, either two values of false, then the cube result will be true. Otherwise, false. Next cube, previous value. The cube has an input socket to which data is received. At the output, the value is generated with an offset. The data type is configured in the settings. and also the offset value. Consider how to use the previous value cube. Let's select a cube. We need to save and pass the closing price value of the previous candle. To do this, select the candle cube and converter cube. We connect them with each other. In the converter cube settings, in the data type value, select the closing price value. Connect the converter cube that passes the closing price value and the previous value cube. Now the cube will pass the previous value of the closing price. Let's do so. To make the cube store the closing price value 2 candles back, select the previous value cube. Connect it to the converter cube. And in the cube settings, we will specify the offset value of 2. In our case, 2 candles back. Now one cube passes the previous value, and the second is the value of 2 candles back. Consider the mathematics section. The first cube is a cube, logical function with one argument. At the input, the cube gets a boolean. At the output, result. In the settings, the logical formula NOT is specified. That is, the cube is a negation function. The next cube is a formula with one argument. At the input, the function gets the argument value. At the output, calculation result. In the cube settings, formula for calculation is specified. The next cube is a cube formula with 2 arguments. The input has 2 input sockets, to which argument values are passed. At the output, calculation result. One of the preset formulas is specified in the settings. Consider an example of building a chain of cubes. Using math cubes, select 2 cubes. Cube formula with 2 arguments, and formula with 1 argument. Suppose we need to calculate the sum of 2 arguments. Select 2 variable cubes. We need to calculate the sum of the first variable with the sign of the angle equal to the second variable. Set the numeric value data type in the variable settings and assign the value 3. And for the second variable, 45. Connect a variable with a value of 45 to a cube formula with 1 argument. Set formula sign x in the settings of the cube formula with 1 argument. Now the output of the cube will generate the result of sign 45. Connect the output socket of formula with 1 argument to the socket of formula with 2 arguments, and the second variable with the input socket of the formula with 2 arguments. Assign in the cube settings the formula a plus b. Thus, the calculation result will be generated at the output socket. Consider the converters section and the first indexer cube. The cube is used to search for a value in data array by a given value. At input, gets the array value. At output, the element value. With the number specified in the cube settings, next cube, converter, allows you to divide complex elements into simple components. At the input, the complex element value. At output, the simple element value. The incoming data type is configured in the settings, and also the value of this type. Data value depends on data type. Consider an example. You need to find out the price of the selected sales line in the order book. Select an order book cube, convert a cube, index a cube, connect the cubes. Divide the order book cube value into simple components using a converter. In the converter settings, select the order book data type, the value of the sales type. Now the converter gets sales line values. To determine the fourth row from an array, connect the converter and indexer cubes. In the indexer settings, we will indicate the line number, 3, since the numbering in the array starts from 0. Now the indexer stores the data for row number 4. Find the line price using a converter. Select a converter cube. Connect it to the indexer cube. Assign the data type, quote, in the data type value, specify price. The converter now passes the price of sales line number 4. Take the variable cube and connect it to the converter. Now the variable cube stores the value of the sales line price. Consider another example. Select the candles cube. You need to get the closing price of the candle. To do this, select the converter cube. Connect with the candles cube. In the converter cube settings, specify the data type, candles. In the data type value, closing price. Thus, we divide the candle cube into simple components in order to get their value. Select a variable cube, and we connect the converter with the cube. Now, the closing price value is passed to the variable cube. Consider the position opening cube. It is the main one, since all strategy trades go through it. The cube has multiple input sockets and 2 output sockets. Input sockets are instrument, trigger, price, volume, portfolio. Output sockets are orders, order cancel. In the cube settings, you can choose the trade direction, buy or sell. Client code, broker code, set up conditional trades. You can check the box next to market item to set the market price. Next cube is the position cube. It reflects the position for the selected instrument and the selected portfolio. It has 2 input sockets: instrument input and portfolio input. Output, the position value for the selected elements. If you check the box next to money item in the cube settings, then the cube at the output will have value of the money balance in the account. Consider how the schema with the positions cube looks like. Select a position cube. Select a variable cube. Assign the instrument data type to the variable in the settings. Assign instrument value. Connect the cubes. Select another variable cube. In the settings, we assign the portfolio data type. It will display the portfolio being traded. In the value, select the simulator. Connect with the position cube. Select one more variable cube and connect it to the position cube. This cube will store the position value for the selected instrument and portfolio. Next cube we'll consider comparison. Select a comparison cube. It has 2 input sockets and 1 output. Data for comparison is received to input sockets. Output, Boolean expression. In the cube settings, first socket data is represented as value 1, second as value 2. A set of comparison tools is also provided. By fulfilling the comparison condition, the output socket value will be a Boolean true or false. Consider an example of building a schema with this cube. Select a comparison cube. The condition will be as follows. It is necessary to check, is the candle closing price greater than candle opening price? Select a candle cube and 2 converter cubes, which will receive and pass values. One is the closing price value. Second, opening prices. Connect them with the candles block. Specify in the settings closing price data value. At the second cube, the opening price. Select 2 variable cubes. Connect them with converter cubes, thus passing them price values. Connect sockets sequentially. In comparison cube settings, set the condition the closing price is higher than the opening price. Now, when checking, either true or false will be generated at the output socket, depending on fulfillment of the condition. Let's build a strategy. The conditions are as follows. If the closing price of the previous candle is less than the closing price of the current one, then buy, and vice versa. To build a strategy, select the cubes. Variable, which will take the instrument value. Candles, for information on candles. Chart panel, for building charts. Connect them. To get the closing price, it is necessary. Use the converter cube to get the value from the candle cube. Select a converter. Connect with a candles cube. Select a value for the candle's data type in the cube settings. Select closing price. To save the price value of the previous candle, select a previous value cube, and we connect it with the converter cube through which this value will be passed. Select a variable cube, which will store the closing price of the current candle, and connect it to the converter. Connect this cube also with the candle cube via the trigger socket, in order for the cube to pass the value further along the chain. To add conditions, select 2 comparison cubes. The cubes will compare the closing prices of the previous and current candles. Connect the output sockets of variable and previous value cubes to the sockets of comparison cubes. In the properties of the comparison cubes, set conditions for checking the execution of our strategy. In one of them, set the price of the previous candle to less. In the other, vice versa. Select two cubes, position opening. Connect sockets sequentially. Instrument. Trigger socket with comparison cubes based on strategy conditions. Set the trade direction in the properties of the position opening cubes, buy or sell. And also, in the settings of cubes, we will specify the market price by setting the corresponding checkbox. To assign a trade volume and trade portfolio, select two variable cubes. For one of them, we will assign the numeric value type and set the value of trade volume equal to 1. For the second, assign the data type, portfolio, and select the value, simulator. Connect sockets of the variable and position opening cubes sequentially. Select the period for which we launch the strategy. Select a strategy instrument. Click on Start. A candle chart will be drawn in the chart window. Enter the order window. All orders for our strategy are recorded here. In the Trades window, all trades that meet the conditions set by us are displayed. On the profit and loss curve, you can see how the trade was going, initially with a small loss, but later with an increase in profits. Let's try to change the candle time frame. In order to consider how the trade will go in this case, change the time frame in the candle cube settings from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Click on Start. Note how the profit and loss chart has changed. Profit went down. This is due to reduced number of trades and reduced strategy flexibility. Let's plot all our trades. To do this, select the Strategy Trades cube. This cube stores information on all strategy trades. Information about the strategy instrument is received by it through the input socket. At the output, a signal about strategy trades. Connect the sockets of the strategy trades and the instrument cubes, and also sockets strategy trades and chart panel for displaying trades. Click on Start. Trades are marked with arrows, where green arrows are buy and pink ones are sell. This allows you to clearly see all concluded trades on the chart. And compare them with the trades table. That's all. Thanks for your attention. Goodbye.